This content is provided for educational and informational purposes only and does not constitute professional real estate, legal, financial, or investment advice. I am not a licensed real estate agent, broker, attorney, or financial advisor in the United States. The information shared in this video is based on personal research, experience, and publicly available resources. Real estate laws, marketing regulations, and licensing requirements vary by state and country. You should always consult with a licensed real estate professional or legal advisor before implementing any strategies discussed in this video. I make no guarantees regarding results, income, or lead generation performance. Your success depends on many factors including market conditions, effort, and experience. By watching this video, you agree that you are solely responsible for any decisions or actions you take based on this content. Let's talk about the worst part of buying a house. It's not the mortgage paperwork. It's not the bidding wars. It's the Saturday. That soul-crushing Saturday where you've scheduled back-to-back showings. You wake up early, you grab a coffee, you've got your GPS fired up, and you spend the entire day driving all over town, walking through other people's houses, trying to be polite while you mentally catalog everything that's wrong. You walk in the front door of the first house, the one with the gorgeous, light-filled living room, in the photos, and you realize the photographer must have been a magician who used a lens the size of a satellite dish. The room is dark, it's half the size you imagined, and it smells faintly of cat. 10 seconds in, you know it's a no. But you still have to do the awkward shuffle through the rest of the house, nodding at the agent, before you can finally escape back to your car, cross it off the list, and drive 30 minutes to the next inevitable disappointment. By the end of the day, you've wasted hours of your life, a full tank of gas, and your dream of finding the perfect home feels further away than ever. Now, what if I told you there's a technology that is systematically destroying that entire broken process? A technology that lets you walk through every single one of those homes in stunning high-definition detail from your couch? A tool so powerful it's helping sellers in the US get their homes off the market up to 31% faster, and for as much as 9% above asking price. Consider the story of the Millers, a family from Chicago trying to sell their 3-bedroom colonial. For 95 days it sat on the market. They had decent photos, they held open houses every weekend. They got a few lowball offers, but nothing stuck. They were bleeding money on 2 mortgages and were close to their breaking point. Their agent, desperate, suggested one last thing. He hired a specialist who came in with a strange-looking camera on a tripod. An hour later, he was gone. The next day, a new link appeared on their online listing. It was called a 3D virtual tour. 2 weeks later, they accepted an all-cash offer for $10,000 over their asking price from a family relocating from San Diego who had never once stepped foot in Chicago. They bought the house based almost entirely on that virtual tour. They walked through it dozens of times online, measured the walls in the kids' rooms to see if their bunk beds would fit, and even looked out the virtual windows to check the view. By the time they submitted their offer, they already felt like they lived there. This isn't science fiction. This is the new reality of American real estate, and it is the single biggest technological shift in the industry since the invention of online listings. And in this video, we are going to pull back the curtain and show you exactly how 3D virtual tours are fundamentally rewiring how we buy and sell homes. We'll explore the hard data, the psychological triggers it activates in buyers, and how you, whether you're a seller looking for an edge, a buyer tired of wasting weekends, or a real estate agent trying to stay ahead of the curve, can leverage this to make smarter, faster, and more profitable decisions. Now, before we get into the nuts and bolts, a quick disclaimer. This presentation is for informational and entertainment purposes only. While we will be discussing strategies that have led to incredible financial outcomes, this does not constitute financial, legal, or real estate advice. You should always consult with a qualified professional who can take your individual circumstances into account. All right, let's get into it. For decades, selling a house has relied on 2 main tools: still photography and the in-person showing. And both are deeply flawed. Photos lie. Not always intentionally, but they are a fundamentally deceptive medium for representing a 3-dimensional space. Agents use ultra-wide-angle lenses to make small rooms look palatial. They take photos at the one specific time of day when the light is perfect, hiding the fact that the house feels like a cave the other 23 hours. They carefully frame out the cracked tile in the bathroom or the water stain on the ceiling. A photo gallery is a highlight reel. It's the home's dating profile. It's not the real thing. This creates a massive disconnect between expectation and reality. A buyer sees the photos, builds a version of the house in their head, gets excited, and invests time and emotional energy into going to see it. When they walk through the door and the reality doesn't match the fantasy, the disappointment is crushing. That initial feeling of being misled immediately sours the entire experience and creates a sense of distrust. The 3D virtual tour obliterates this problem. It is the antidote to the curated, deceptive nature of still photography. Unlike a video, which is a passive experience where you're led on a path chosen by the videographer, a 3D tour gives the user complete control. Using a device as simple as a smartphone or a laptop, you can navigate the space as if you were actually there. You can walk from the kitchen to the living room. You can turn around 360 degrees. You can look up at the ceiling and down at the floors. You can walk upstairs, go into every bedroom, every closet, every bathroom. It is a perfect, dimensionally accurate digital twin of the property. There is nowhere to hide. The unflattering layout, the awkward hallway, the small size of the master closet, it's all there in plain sight. And this is where the magic happens. It seems counterintuitive, but this radical transparency is a seller's greatest asset. By showing everything, warts and all, you build an immediate foundation of trust with the potential buyer. You are essentially saying, here it is. This is our home exactly as it is. We have nothing to hide. This disarms the natural skepticism of a buyer and allows them to evaluate the property on its actual merits, not on a fantasy version they constructed from glossy photos. But the real power goes even deeper. It's about emotional psychology. When a buyer can navigate a space on their own terms, at their own pace, something incredible happens. They stop being a passive observer and become an active participant. They start to mentally inhabit the space. They'll stand in the virtual kitchen and think, this is where I'd put the coffee maker. They'll walk into the spare bedroom and say, this would be a perfect home office, my desk could go right against that wall. They are digitally placing their life into the framework of the house. This process creates a powerful sense of emotional ownership long before they ever make an offer, or even book a showing. They're no longer just looking at a house. They're exploring their potential home. This has a profound impact on the entire sales process. First, it acts as the world's most effective filter. The tire kickers, the nosy neighbors, and the buyers for whom the layout is an absolute deal-breaker will disqualify the house themselves from the comfort of their own home. They'll walk the tour, realize the kitchen is too small, or they hate the open concept design, and they'll simply move on. This is a blessing for the seller. It means you no longer have to keep your house spotlessly clean for a parade of people who were never serious buyers to begin with. The only people who book an in-person showing after taking a comprehensive 3D tour are highly qualified, pre-vetted, and already emotionally invested. They aren't coming to see if they like the house. They're coming to confirm that they love it. The entire dynamic of the showing shifts from one of skeptical inspection to one of excited confirmation. Second, it creates a 24/7 global open house. Your potential buyer is no longer limited to people who live within a 30-minute drive and are free on Sunday from 1 to 3 p.m. Your buyer could be a doctor in California finishing her night shift at 2 in the morning, a military family in Germany getting relocated, or an investor in New York looking for a rental property. The 3D tour allows anyone, anywhere, at any time to experience the property in its entirety. In today's increasingly mobile workforce, where out-of-state moves are more common than ever, this dramatically expands your pool of potential buyers. More buyers means more competition, and more competition inevitably leads to faster sales and higher prices. This isn't a theory. It is the fundamental economic principle of supply and demand playing out in real time, supercharged by technology. So we've established that this works. It builds trust, it creates emotional connection, and it expands the buyer pool. But how is this digital twin actually created? What does the technology look like? And what is the critical difference between a tour that sells a house and one that's just a clunky, frustrating gimmick? The secret lies in the camera, the software, and the skill of the person operating it. And understanding that difference is key to unlocking its true potential. Let's start with the camera. Imagine for a moment you're trying to describe a beautiful, complex sculpture to someone who can't see it. You could take 100 photos from different angles with your phone. They'd get the general idea, sure, but they wouldn't understand its depth, its texture, the way it occupies space. Now, imagine you could hand them a perfect miniature 3D printed replica of that sculpture. They could hold it, turn it over, feel its contours. That's the difference between a basic 360-degree photo and a true 3D virtual tour. The cheap DIY solutions, the ones you can do with your smartphone or a simple consumer-grade 360 camera, are essentially just those photos stitched together. The software does its best to blend the edges, creating a photosphere you can look around in. But it has no real understanding of the space itself. It doesn't know the distance from the sofa to the fireplace, or the height of the ceiling in the entryway. This is why those tours often feel off. You click to move forward and suddenly you've jumped 10 feet and are halfway inside a wall. The proportions look weird, doorways can look stretched, and long hallways can feel distorted, like a funhouse mirror. It's a gimmick, not a tool. The professional systems, the ones creating those jaw-droppingly smooth and realistic tours, are playing a completely different game. We're talking about high-tech cameras from companies like Matterport or Leica. These devices aren't just taking pictures, they are scanning. As the camera rotates, it's not only capturing high dynamic range, 4K visual data, it's also firing out structured light infrared beams. Think of it like a super advanced invisible tape measure. It's bouncing light off every surface in the room, the walls, the floor, the furniture, the light fixtures, and measuring the time it takes for that light to return. It does this millions of times from each scan point. This process creates what's called a point cloud. It's a massive collection of data points that, together, form a perfect, dimensionally accurate 3D model of the space. We're talking accuracy down to 1%. When the tour tells you the primary bedroom is 15 feet by 20 feet, it's not an estimate from the listing agent. It's a precise measurement taken from the scan data. This is the foundation. Without this accurate spatial data, everything else falls apart. This is why, in a professional tour, you can look down and see a perfect floor, not a warped, blurry tripod spot. It's why you can seamlessly walk from the kitchen to the living room without that jarring jump. The system knows the exact layout of the house, so it can move you through it realistically. But the hardware is only half the equation. All that raw data, the millions of measurement points and the gigabytes of photo information, is useless on its own. It needs to be processed. And this is where the second secret, the software, comes in. This is the brains of the operation. After a professional scans a house, which can take several hours, that massive data file is uploaded to the cloud. Their powerful servers and sophisticated artificial intelligence get to work. They take all those individual scans and stitch them together like an impossibly complex digital quilt. The AI identifies common points between scans to align them perfectly. It builds the 3D mesh, the walls and floors of the model. It then overlays the high-resolution photography onto that mesh, like wrapping a gift with photorealistic paper. This is what creates the signature dollhouse view. That incredible moment where you can see the entire home as a 3D model, spin it around, and then dive into any room you choose. A cheap app can't do that because it never built the model in the first place. This advanced software is also responsible for generating the schematic floor plans automatically, complete with measurements. It's what powers the measurement tool, allowing a potential buyer from 1,000 miles away to measure a wall to see if their king-size bed will fit. It's what creates the smooth, video game-like walking experience. The software isn't just a viewer, it's a world builder. It transforms a collection of data points into a living, explorable digital twin of the property. And the quality of that software directly impacts the buyer's experience. Slow loading times, a confusing interface, or laggy movement can make a buyer click away in frustration, no matter how good the camera was. This brings us to the third and arguably most important piece of the puzzle: the skill of the operator. You can give someone the most expensive camera and the best software in the world, but if they don't know how to use it, the result will still be mediocre. Creating a truly compelling virtual tour is an art form that blends photography with a deep understanding of real estate marketing. A professional 3D tour photographer doesn't just show up and start scanning. First, they walk the entire property, just like a film director scouting a location. They're planning their scan path. They need to create a logical, intuitive flow that mimics how a person would naturally walk through the home. You don't want a buyer to feel lost or confused, jumping from the basement to the attic. It should feel like a guided journey. They're also a master of lighting. They know how to open blinds and turn on lamps to make a space feel bright and welcoming, without blowing out the highlights or creating harsh glares in the final images. They pay attention to the details. They'll fluff the pillows, straighten the picture frames, and hide the trash can. All the little staging tricks that make a home look its absolute best. The placement of the camera itself is a science. Placing it too low makes the ceilings feel short. Placing it too high makes the furniture look like dollhouse furniture. Placing it in a corner can distort the room's perceived size. A pro knows the sweet spot. typically around 5 feet high and near the center of a room, to create a natural human eye perspective. They also know how to scan tricky areas. Mirrors, for example, can wreak havoc on infrared scanners, creating phantom rooms and distorted data. A pro knows the techniques to mask mirrors or scan around them to avoid these issues. Outdoor spaces and bright windows require a special touch to balance the light levels between the interior and exterior. This human element, this combination of technical expertise and artistic vision, is what elevates a 3D scan from a simple data capture to a powerful sales tool. It's the difference between a sterile, robotic view of a property and an immersive experience that makes a buyer feel an emotional connection to the space. It's what makes them feel like they're already home. Think back to that struggling real estate agent, the one who saw her listing sit on the market while her competitors sold in a weekend. The difference wasn't luck. It wasn't just a better house. It was a better presentation. Her competitor understood this holy trinity. They invested in a service that used a high-end infrared scanning camera to build a dimensionally accurate model. That data was processed by powerful cloud-based software to create a seamless, feature-rich user experience. And the entire process was executed by a skilled professional who knew how to showcase the home in its best possible light. The result wasn't just a virtual tour. It was a 24/7 open house, a powerful qualifying tool that weeded out casual browsers and drew in serious, committed buyers who had already walked the halls, measured for their furniture, and fallen in love with the home before they ever set foot inside. So we've seen how the technology works, the nuts and bolts that separate the professional from the amateur. But this is just the beginning. Knowing how it works is one thing. Understanding why it works on a psychological level is something else entirely. How does this digital experience actually change a buyer's brain? What is happening on a subconscious level when someone interacts with a digital twin of a home that makes them more likely to make an offer, and to make it faster? The answer is a fascinating mix of neuroscience, marketing psychology, and a cognitive bias that very few people even know exists. That cognitive bias is called the endowment effect, and it's one of the most powerful, and often invisible, forces in human decision-making. It was first identified by Nobel Prize-winning economist Richard Thaler, and it boils down to a simple, almost irrational human quirk: we place a higher value on things simply because we own them. Or, and this is the critical part for our story, because we feel like we own them. The classic experiment that demonstrated this is almost laughably simple. Researchers went into a university classroom and gave half the students a coffee mug, just a standard mug with the university logo on it, for free. The other half of the students got nothing. Then they told the students with the mugs that they could sell them, and they asked the students without mugs how much they'd be willing to pay for one. Now, classic economic theory would say the prices should be pretty similar. The mug has an objective market value, right? But that's not what happened. Not even close. The students who were given the mugs, who had owned them for all of 5 minutes on average, wouldn't sell them for less than $5.25. The students who didn't have a mug, the potential buyers on average, wouldn't pay more than $2.75. It was the exact same mug. But the simple, fleeting act of ownership nearly doubled its perceived value. That's the endowment effect. Once something is ours, our brain chemistry literally changes how we value it. It becomes part of our identity, and giving it up feels like a loss, not just a transaction. So what on earth does a coffee mug experiment have to do with selling a 2,000 square foot colonial in suburban Ohio? Everything. A traditional real estate listing with its flat, two-dimensional photos keeps you at a distance. You are an observer, a spectator. You're looking at someone else's house. Your brain processes it as just that, information. You might like the kitchen, you might note the size of the yard, but you are psychologically on the outside looking in. There is zero sense of ownership. A 3D virtual tour shatters that barrier. The moment you click into that tour, the dynamic shifts. You are no longer a passive observer. You are an active participant. You control the experience. You decide to turn left into the living room, not right into the dining room. You choose to walk over to the window and look out at the backyard. You decide to zoom in on the specific tile in the master bathroom shower. This isn't a guided tour on rails. It's a self-directed exploration. And that act of control, of agency, is the first critical step in triggering the endowment effect. Your brain doesn't just register this as viewing a house. It registers it as exploring my space. Each click, each pan of the camera is a tiny investment of effort and decision-making. You are mentally moving through the property, creating a pathway that is unique to you. This process begins to build a bridge between you and the property. You're not just seeing the house, you're experiencing it. This is where the neuroscience gets really interesting. When we physically navigate a space, a special region of our brain called the hippocampus lights up. It contains what are known as place cells and grid cells, which work together to build a cognitive map of our surroundings. This is our internal GPS, the system that allows us to remember how to get from the bedroom to the kitchen in the dark. It's a deeply primal and powerful part of our brain function. Remarkably, studies using fMRI scans have shown that navigating a detailed, high-fidelity virtual environment activates these same neural pathways. Your brain, on a very fundamental level, doesn't make a huge distinction between walking through a physical house and meticulously walking through its digital twin. The act of navigating the 3D space is helping you build a cognitive map of the home. You start to learn its layout, its flow, its little quirks. You remember that the laundry room is conveniently right off the kitchen, or that the afternoon sun hits that one specific window in the den. These aren't just details you've seen, they are details you have discovered. And because you've built this mental map, the house ceases to be an abstract collection of rooms and becomes a coherent, memorable place in your mind. This creates a much deeper, more robust memory of the property than just flipping through 25 static photos ever could. You remember the feeling of walking from the entryway to the back patio. This mental mapping and sense of control then feed directly back into the endowment effect. The home is now more familiar. It's more memorable. It has become, in a small but significant way, yours because you've invested the mental energy to map it out. You've already started to inhabit it psychologically. Think about the difference. With photos, a potential buyer might say, "I like the look of that kitchen." After a 3D tour, they're far more likely to say something like, "I can see us putting our breakfast table right there in that nook by the window." The language shifts from observation to imagination, from it to us. This is the endowment effect in action. The buyer has mentally moved in before they've ever set foot on the property. And it gets even deeper. There's a related psychological principle called the IKEA effect. Researchers at Harvard Business School found that people place a significantly higher value on products they have partially assembled themselves, like an IKEA bookshelf, than on the exact same pre-assembled product. Why? Because we value our own labor. We fall in love with our own creation. The 3D tour creates a digital version of this. When a potential buyer uses the built-in measurement tool to see if their sectional sofa will fit in the living room, they are investing labor. When they use the floor plan view to reimagine which bedroom would be for which child, they are investing creative energy. They are, in essence, digitally co-creating their future life in that home. Each measurement, each plan is like another screw turned on that IKEA bookshelf. It strengthens their bond to the house. It makes it theirs. Let's imagine a couple, we'll call them Mark and Sarah, relocating from California to Texas for a new job. They can't fly out every weekend to see houses. Their agent sends them a link to a 3D tour of a promising property. On their laptop, 1,000 miles away, they don't just see pictures. They enter the home. Sarah walks into the kitchen and zooms in on the granite countertops, checking for imperfections. Mark heads to the garage, using the measurement tool to confirm that yes, his pickup truck will actually fit. They go upstairs and stand in the spare room, debating if it should be a nursery or a home office. They spend 45 minutes inside this digital twin, exploring every corner, every closet. They talk about where their art would hang, where the Christmas tree would go. When they finish, that house is no longer just 123 Oak Street. It's the house where they figured out the nursery. It's the house where Mark's truck fits. They have invested time, effort, and imagination. They have built a cognitive map and started to psychologically inhabit the space. The endowment effect has taken hold. Now, when a competing offer comes in on that house, it doesn't just feel like a missed business opportunity for Mark and Sarah. It feels like a loss. They are at risk of losing their house. And this feeling dramatically increases their motivation. They're more likely to make a stronger offer, to be more flexible on terms, and to do it all much faster. Because they aren't just buying a property. They're trying to hold on to a home they already, in their minds, own. This is the psychological engine driving the success of 3D tours. It's not just about convenience or cool technology. It's a sophisticated tool that leverages deep-seated cognitive biases to transform a passive browser into an emotionally invested potential owner. It shortens the psychological distance between looking and owning. And in the fast-paced world of real estate, that shortened distance is measured in faster sales and higher prices. It's a fundamental shift in how we connect with a space before we ever touch the front door. But this powerful connection creates a new set of questions. If a buyer can fall in love with a house from their couch, what does that mean for the traditional pillars of real estate like the open house or the agent-led showing? Is this technology fundamentally changing the role of the real estate agent themselves? For many, the answer is a terrifying yes. But for the smartest agents in the business, it's become their single greatest advantage. To understand this shift, we have to look at what an agent's job used to be, and what many people still think it is. For decades, the real estate agent was the gatekeeper. They held the keys quite literally. If you wanted to see a house, you had to call them. If you wanted information about a property, its history, its features, its price, you had to go through them. They controlled the flow of information and access. The entire system was built around their physical presence. The open house, the private showing, the binder of listings in their passenger seat. It was all centered on the agent as the indispensable conduit. And then along comes a technology that says, you don't need a conduit anymore. You don't need to schedule a showing. You don't need to wait for the agent to be free. The house is open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, to anyone in the world with an internet connection. It never gets tired, it never has a bad day. And it can show the property to 1,000 people at once without breaking a sweat. From that perspective, the fear is not only understandable, it's logical. If an agent's primary value is simply unlocking a door and pointing out the granite countertops, then yes, their role is in jeopardy. This is the same existential dread that hit travel agents when Expedia launched, or stockbrokers when E-Trade gave everyone the power to trade from their home computer. When technology democratizes access, the gatekeeper's job becomes obsolete. But the smartest agents, the ones who aren't just surviving but are thriving in this new landscape, realize something crucial. They were never just gatekeepers. That was just the most visible, time-consuming part of their job. Their true value was never about turning a key in a lock. It was about strategy, negotiation, market expertise, and human psychology. And the 3D virtual tour, the very thing that threatened to make them obsolete, was actually the key to unlocking their true potential. It became a force multiplier. Think about it. The average agent spends an incredible amount of time on low-value logistical tasks. Coordinating schedules for showings, driving across town for a 15-minute walkthrough with a buyer who isn't really serious, or hosting an open house for 3 hours just to have neighbors wander through for free cookies. It's a game of volume and brute force. The 3D tour automates the entire top of that funnel. It acts as the ultimate filter. It weeds out the tire kickers, the curious neighbors, and the buyers for whom the layout just won't work. The people who view a comprehensive 3D tour and still request an in-person showing are not just leads. They are highly qualified, pre-vetted prospects. They've already walked the halls virtually. They've measured the walls for their sofa. They know the kitchen flows into the living room. They are coming not to see if they like the house, but to confirm that they love it. This single change completely transforms an agent's daily life and their value proposition. Instead of spending 80% of their time on logistics and 20% on strategy, those numbers flip. The time once spent driving from house to house is now spent on a deep dive market analysis to price the home perfectly. The hours spent hosting a dead open house are now reinvested into crafting a more compelling marketing narrative for the property. They can focus on what technology can't do. Advising a seller on which renovation offers the best return on investment, negotiating a complex repair addendum after an inspection, or calming the nerves of a first-time buyer. They are transitioning from being a salesperson to being a trusted advisor, a consultant. The 3D tour handles the repetitive, scalable work, freeing up the human to do the nuanced, high-touch work. It's not about agent versus technology. It's about agent plus technology. But freeing up time is only the first layer of the advantage. The real secret, the part that separates the top 1% of agents from everyone else, lies in something the average person never sees: the data. These virtual tours are not just passive videos. They are sophisticated data-gathering tools. On the back end, an agent with a Matterport or other 3D tour platform has access to an analytics dashboard that is an absolute goldmine of market intelligence. It's like having a secret focus group for your house that runs 24/7. The agent can see exactly how many people have visited the tour. They can see where those visitors are located geographically. Are they local or are they from out of state? This is invaluable information when marketing a home in a relocation hotspot like Austin or Miami. They can see how much time the average visitor spends inside the virtual tour. Are people clicking in and immediately clicking out, or are they spending 10-15 minutes exploring? A long viewing time is a powerful indicator of serious interest, but it gets even more granular. And this is where it becomes a strategic weapon. The technology creates a virtual heat map of the home. The agent can see which specific rooms and features are getting the most attention. Are dozens of people zooming in on the kitchen island? Let's make sure our professional photos and ad copy highlight that feature. Is everyone spending an inordinate amount of time in the master closet? That's a key selling point we need to emphasize. Conversely, are viewers consistently skipping past the second bathroom or rushing through the basement? That's critical feedback. It might signal a need for better virtual staging in that area, or it could be a sign that the photos in the main listing are misrepresenting the space, leading to disappointment. This is a level of insight that was simply impossible before. An agent hosting a traditional open house might get a vague feeling that people like the kitchen, but they have no real data to back it up. They are operating on intuition. The agent using a 3D tour is operating on hard evidence. This transforms the conversation they have with their seller. The agent is no longer just offering an opinion. They're presenting a data-driven analysis. Instead of saying, "I think we might be priced a little high," they can now say, "We've had 500 virtual visitors this week, which is fantastic traffic. However, the average viewing time is only 90 seconds, and almost no one is clicking to book an in-person tour." The data is telling us that while we are attracting eyeballs, the price is creating a barrier for serious buyers. That is an entirely different and infinitely more powerful value proposition. The agent becomes a market analyst, using real-time behavioral data to guide the sale. They are no longer just facilitating a transaction. They are managing a data-driven marketing campaign for a multi-$100,000 asset. This is the true game-changing advantage. So we've seen how this changes the game for sellers and their agents, transforming a potential threat into an indispensable tool. But what about the other side of the transaction? For buyers, this technology isn't just a convenience. It's a revolution that's rewriting the very rulebook of how to find and fall in love with a home. And in some cases, it's creating a bidding war before anyone even steps through the front door. So let's talk about that bidding war. How does a string of code, a digital replica of a house, create such a frenzy? It's all about a powerful psychological shift, moving a potential buyer from a passive observer to an active participant. When you scroll through a gallery of 25 professionally shot, wide-angle photos, you're an art critic. You're judging composition, lighting, and staging. You're looking at a curated, idealized version of a house. But the moment you enter a 3D virtual tour, that dynamic flips. You are no longer an observer. You are an explorer. Your mouse becomes your feet. You are in control. You decide to turn left into the dining room, not right into the living room. You decide to walk over to the window and look out at the backyard. You decide to zoom in on the granite countertops to see the specific pattern. This sense of agency, of self-directed discovery, is the first critical step in forging an emotional bond. This isn't just a feeling. There's a proven psychological principle at play here called the endowment effect. In short, it's the phenomenon where people place a higher value on things they own. A famous study gave one group of people a coffee mug and then asked how much they'd sell it for. They gave another group nothing and asked how much they'd pay for the same mug. The owners consistently demanded twice as much to sell the mug as the buyers were willing to pay. Ownership creates attachment. A 3D tour creates a powerful form of pre-ownership. By spending 30, 40, even 60 minutes walking through a digital home, you're investing your time and your imagination. You're mentally placing your sofa against the living room wall. You're picturing your kids running down the hallway. You're debating whether your king-size bed will fit in the master bedroom, and you're using the tour's built-in measurement tool to find out. Each decision, each act of imagination, strengthens this feeling of endowment. It starts to feel like your home before you've ever signed a single piece of paper. So when another buyer enters the picture, it doesn't feel like you're competing for a property. It feels like you're fighting for something you already emotionally possess. Let's make this real. Imagine a young couple, Sarah and Ben, living in a cramped apartment in San Diego. They're trying to buy their first home in Phoenix, a 5-hour drive away. The market is white hot. By the time they see a promising listing online on a Tuesday, arrange to take Friday off work, and drive out to see it, it's already under contract. They are frustrated, demoralized, and feeling hopelessly behind the curve. They are the classic out-of-state buyers, at a massive disadvantage. Then one night, scrolling through listings, they find a home with a Matterport 3D tour. It's 11 p.m. They're on their couch in their pajamas. They click the link. Suddenly, they're standing in the foyer of a beautiful ranch-style home in Scottsdale. The light is perfect. It's quiet. There's no pressure, no agent looking over their shoulder. They start to explore. Ben immediately walks into the garage. He's a woodworker, and he's meticulously checking for space for his tools, for the placement of electrical outlets. He spends 10 minutes just in the garage. Meanwhile, Sarah's in the kitchen. She's not just looking at it, she's experiencing it. She walks from the fridge to the island to the sink, simulating the kitchen triangle. She looks inside the pantry. She checks the view from the sink window into the backyard. They meet up in the living room and talk via text about how their sectional would fit perfectly. They go to the master bedroom and use the measurement tool. Their king bed fits with 2 feet to spare on either side. It's a huge relief. They then spend the next 20 minutes walking the backyard, imagining a barbecue on the patio. After an hour, they've seen every square inch of the house. They've looked up at the ceiling fans and down at the flooring transitions. They've been in the laundry room and every single closet. They have more information and a better feel for the layout of this house than any of the 5 homes they previously drove 5 hours to see in person for a frantic 15-minute showing. The uncertainty, the biggest fear for an out-of-state buyer, has evaporated. It's been replaced by confidence. They know this house works for them. They know they love it. So they call their agent right then and there and say, "We want to make an offer, a strong one right now." They offer $5,000 over the asking price and include a personal letter to the seller, because they've already built a story for themselves in that home. Their offer gets accepted the next morning, beating out 3 other local buyers who were still just scheduling their first in-person visit. The 3D tour didn't just level the playing field. It gave them a winning advantage from 350 miles away. And this advantage isn't limited to long-distance moves. Think about the busy surgeon in Chicago who works 80-hour weeks. She doesn't have time to traipse around to a dozen open houses on her one day off. The 3D tour allows her to meticulously vet 10 properties from her office between surgeries, find the one that truly meets her needs, and only schedule a single decisive in-person visit. For her, time is the most valuable currency, and this technology saves her an immense amount of it. Or consider the new generation of buyers, millennials and Gen Z, who have grown up with technology at their fingertips. They expect instant, on-demand, immersive experiences. To them, a listing with only a handful of static photos feels ancient, incomplete, and almost untrustworthy. A 3D tour speaks their language. It aligns with how they consume information and make decisions in every other aspect of their lives, from test driving a car virtually to trying on clothes with augmented reality. But perhaps the most underrated power of a 3D tour is its ability to disqualify people. That sounds counterintuitive, right? Why would a seller want to turn away potential buyers? But it's not about turning away buyers, it's about filtering out the wrong buyers. If someone tours a home virtually and realizes that the open concept layout they thought they wanted actually feels too cavernous, or that the Jack and Jill bathroom for the kids' rooms is a deal breaker, they simply close the browser tab and move on. What's the result? They never book a showing. They never have the seller prep the house, hide the dog, and leave for an hour on a Tuesday night. They never have an agent drive across town to let them in. That disqualification saves everyone time, energy, and resources. It means that the people who do book an in-person tour after seeing the 3D model are not just leads. They are highly qualified, pre-vetted, and emotionally invested prospects. They aren't coming for a first impression. They are coming for a final confirmation. They are coming to validate the connection they already built on their laptop. This transforms the entire sales process from a high-volume, low-conversion numbers game into a low-volume, high-conversion surgical strike. So we've seen how this technology empowers buyers, giving them unprecedented confidence and control, allowing them to fall in love with a home from 1,000 miles away or from just across town. But what does this mean for the person on the other side of the transaction? For the seller, the benefits aren't just about getting a higher price. They're about fundamentally changing the stress, the timeline, and the very nature of selling a home in the 21st century. And for real estate agents, it's becoming the ultimate weapon in their arsenal to win listings and close deals faster than ever before. So let's break down what that weapon actually does. How does a string of code and a collection of images create such a seismic shift in a multi-trillion-dollar industry? The answer isn't just about technology, it's about psychology. It's about hacking the single most emotional, high-stakes decision most people will ever make in their lives. To understand its power, we have to first understand the profound flaws of the old way. Imagine a family. Let's call them the Millers. They're in Seattle and a fantastic job opportunity has just opened up for them in Austin, Texas. They're thrilled but also terrified. They have 2 kids, a tight timeline, and a budget. The clock is ticking. Under the old model, their journey is a masterclass in stress. They spend hours scrolling through hundreds of listings online. The photos all start to blur together. Wide-angle lenses make tiny rooms look like ballrooms. Great-looking photos hide the fact that the charming kitchen backs up directly onto a noisy 6-lane highway. They finally narrow it down to 15, maybe 20 homes. They book a flight to Austin for a single weekend. A frantic whirlwind trip. They land Friday night exhausted. Saturday morning, their agent picks them up, and the marathon begins. House after house after house. By the 5th home, the kids are melting down in the back seat. By the 10th, the Millers can't remember if the gorgeous master bath was in the house with the tiny backyard, or the one with the weird smell in the basement. They're taking shaky photos on their phones, trying to capture details, but the pictures never do it justice. They're trying to make notes, but their brains are overloaded. They're not just evaluating homes. They're battling traffic, hunger, and fatigue. By Sunday afternoon, they have to make a decision. They have to choose one of these homes, based on a fragmented 20-minute walkthrough and a collection of blurry iPhone pictures, and then make the biggest financial commitment of their lives. They fly back to Seattle, filled with anxiety and doubt. Did we make the right choice? Did we miss something? What was the view from the kitchen window again? This process is fundamentally broken. It's inefficient, stressful, and forces people to make monumental decisions with incomplete information. Now let's rewind and give the Millers a secret advantage. Let's give one of those Austin listings a 3D virtual tour. The Millers are back in Seattle scrolling through homes. But this one listing is different. It has a button that says, "Take a 3D tour." They click it, and instantly their world changes. They are no longer just looking at pictures, they are inside the house. From their own living room thousands of miles away, they are walking through the front door of that home in Austin. They glide from the foyer into the living room. They look up at the high ceilings. They turn around and see the flow into the dining area. This isn't a video. They are in complete control. They walk into the kitchen, zoom in on the granite countertops, and check out the brand of the appliances. They go upstairs into the master bedroom. Their first question: will our king-sized bed fit between those 2 windows? In the old model, that's a question for the agent who has to go measure, creating a delay. In this new model, they click a measurement tool. In 5 seconds, they have their answer. Yes, it will. With 6 inches to spare on each side. A wave of relief washes over them. The uncertainty begins to melt away. Their daughter wants to see her potential new room. They navigate to it and she can see the exact view out her window. They can see if her desk will fit in the corner. They spend 20, 30, 40 minutes exploring this one house. They come back to it later that night. And again the next morning. They show the tour to their parents on a video call. This house is no longer just another listing. It's becoming their house. A powerful psychological phenomenon is taking place called the endowment effect. Our brains are wired to place a higher value on things we feel we already own. By digitally inhabiting the space, by measuring for their furniture, by planning where the Christmas tree will go, the Millers are building a deep, emotional connection to the property before they've even set foot in it. The 3D tour acts as the ultimate filter. The Millers can now disqualify other homes with confidence. That one with the weird layout? They know it won't work without ever leaving their couch. The one with the small pantry? They've already seen it and moved on. So when they finally book that flight to Austin, they aren't going to see 15 random houses. They're going to see 3. And one of them, the one they've already toured virtually a dozen times, is the one they are already in love with. The in-person visit becomes a final confirmation, not a frantic, stressful discovery process. They walk in the door and it feels familiar, like coming home. They're not there to see if they like it. They're there to confirm that they love it. The decision is easier, faster, and filled with confidence instead of doubt. This isn't just a nice story. The data backs it up. According to Zillow's own Consumer Housing Trends report, listings with a 3D tour receive a staggering number of saved favorites and views. Buyers are more than 90% more likely to view a home in their search results if it has a 3D tour. Why? Because it answers questions. It builds trust. It eliminates uncertainty, which is the single biggest killer of any sale. It's a 24/7, always-on open house that never sleeps. It works for the seller while they're at work, on vacation, or in the middle of the night. It qualifies buyers on a global scale. Someone moving from New York or Florida, or even another country, can tour a home in Dallas with the same level of detail as someone living 2 blocks away. This fundamentally changes the game for the listing agent. They are no longer just a gatekeeper of information. They become a provider of an elite, stress-free experience. When that agent walks into a listing presentation, they have a value proposition that is almost impossible to compete with. They can look a seller in the eye and say, "Any agent can take a few photos and put your house on the internet. What I'm going to do is different. I'm going to create a fully immersive digital version of your home. I'm going to put your home directly into the living rooms of highly motivated buyers across the country, allowing them to fall in love with it before they even book a flight. We won't be wasting our time with endless showings for unqualified looky-loos. The only people who walk through your actual door will be the ones who are already serious, already invested, and ready to make an offer." In a competitive market, that is the conversation that wins the listing. It's the tool that separates the amateurs from the professionals. But how is this incredible technology actually created? Is a 3D tour from one company the same as another? And what's the one critical mistake that sellers and agents make when choosing a virtual tour that can actually backfire and kill a sale before it even begins? The answer lies in a brilliant fusion of photography and spatial mapping. And the undisputed king of this technology is a company called Matterport. You've almost certainly used their tech without even knowing it. When you see that slick, smooth virtual tour with the little dollhouse view that lets you spin the entire house around in 3D, that's them. So how do they do it? It's not just a fancy camera on a tripod. The device they use is a marvel of engineering. It's equipped with multiple high-resolution lenses, but critically, it also has infrared sensors. This is the secret sauce. A trained technician places this camera in the center of a room. They tap a button on an iPad, and the camera slowly rotates 360 degrees. During this rotation, it's doing 2 things simultaneously. First, it's capturing a massive amount of high-definition visual data. The colors, the textures, the light. But at the same time, its infrared sensors are projecting a grid of light, invisible to the human eye, across every surface in the room. By measuring how that grid of light distorts over the furniture, the walls, and the doorways, the camera can calculate the precise distance to every single point. It's building a complete, mathematically accurate 3D map of the space. This process is called photogrammetry combined with structured light scanning. The technician then picks up the tripod, moves it about 10 feet, and does it again, and again, and again. They methodically capture every single room, every hallway, every closet from multiple angles. It's a painstaking process. All of this raw data, terabytes of it, is then uploaded to Matterport's powerful cloud servers. This is where the real magic happens. Their algorithms take these hundreds of individual scans and stitch them together, not like a flat panorama, but into a cohesive, geometrically perfect 3D model. They build the dollhouse. They create the seamless pathways that let you walk through the home. This is why a premium 3D tour isn't just a file you get. It's a service you subscribe to, hosted on their platform. And that brings us to the next critical question. Are all these tours the same? Absolutely not. Not even close. Thinking all 3D tours are created equal is like saying a flip phone camera is the same as an IMAX camera. They both take pictures, but the experience and the result are worlds apart. In the real estate world, you have a clear hierarchy. At the top, you have Matterport, the gold standard. Their tours are fluid, high resolution, and have that iconic dollhouse view that gives buyers an unparalleled understanding of the home's layout. Then you have other professional systems like iGuide, which is known for its speed and for creating incredibly detailed, to-the-inch accurate floor plans along with the tour. It's a different flavor, but still a high-quality, professional-grade tool. And then you have the budget options. The most common one you'll see is Zillow 3D Home. Now, Zillow's platform is incredibly accessible. An agent can create one of these tours themselves for free using just their iPhone. And for a certain segment of the market, like a basic one-bedroom apartment rental, it's fine. It's better than nothing. But here's the crucial difference. It's not really a 3D tour. It's a series of 360-degree photos strung together. It doesn't use infrared scanners to build a true 3D model. That's why there's no dollhouse view. There's no measurement tool. The navigation often feels clunky and disjointed, jumping from one static bubble to the next. The image quality is limited by the phone's camera, often resulting in warped lines, blown-out windows, and poor lighting. Placing a Zillow 3D home tour on $1 million listing is like showing up to a Rolls-Royce auction in a rusty pickup truck. It sends a message of cutting corners, and it immediately devalues the perception of the property. The technology platform is the first layer of difference. The second, and arguably more important layer, is the person operating the camera. The technology is a tool, and the result depends entirely on the skill of the artist. You can give the world's most expensive paintbrush to a toddler, and you'll get a mess. Give it to a master and you'll get a masterpiece. The same is true here. A professional real estate photographer who specializes in 3D capture is thinking about more than just scanning the rooms. They're a cinematographer for the house. They meticulously plan the scan path, the virtual walkway a user will follow. They ensure the path is logical, flowing naturally from the front door through the living spaces, into the kitchen, and up the stairs. A cheap, inexperienced operator will create a confusing mess. You'll find yourself clicking into a closet with no way out, or trying to enter a bedroom and ending up in the wall. They'll place the camera in spots that create awkward angles, making rooms look smaller or distorted. They won't know how to properly scan around mirrors, so you'll see a giant, warped reflection of the camera and tripod in the master bathroom shot. These small things add up to a jarring, unprofessional experience that reflects poorly on the home. A true pro knows how to light the space, how to prep the room to look its best on camera, and how to create a tour that feels less like a video game and more like an elegant, guided experience. So no, a 3D tour is not just a 3D tour. The platform it's built on matters. The skill of the person creating it matters even more. And ignoring this reality leads directly to the single biggest mistake that sellers and agents make. A mistake that can poison a buyer's perception and kill a sale before they ever set foot inside the door. This is the trap. The critical mistake is treating the 3D virtual tour as a simple checkbox on a marketing plan, rather than what it truly is. The single most important first impression your home will ever make on a remote buyer. It's the digital handshake, the virtual curb appeal. And when you treat it as a checkbox, you make decisions based on one thing and one thing only: cost. You go with the agent who says, "Yeah, we do 3D tours," without asking for examples. You hire the cheapest photographer you can find, who shot the tour on their phone in 20 minutes between other appointments. And you get a product that does more harm than good. Here's how it backfires spectacularly. First, it creates a terrible first impression. A low-resolution, glitchy tour with bad lighting doesn't say "dream home." It says "discount listing." It signals to the buyer that the seller is cutting corners on the marketing, and their brain immediately makes the subconscious leap. If they're cutting corners here, where else are they cutting corners? On the maintenance? On the repairs? It plants a seed of doubt and lowers the perceived value of the property from the very first click. Second, a bad tour is unflattering. It's the opposite of professional photography. Instead of using light and angles to make a room feel warm and spacious, a poorly executed scan can make it feel dark, cramped, and distorted. The wide-angle lens on a phone can warp walls and furniture, creating a bizarre funhouse effect. Bad lighting will highlight every scuff on the baseboard and every imperfection in the drywall. It's like putting the house under a harsh, unforgiving microscope, showcasing its flaws instead of its features. Finally, and most lethally, it creates frustration. A potential buyer is excited to see your home. They click the link, and the tour takes forever to load. When it finally does, the navigation is a nightmare. They try to go into the kitchen and end up in the laundry room. They get stuck in a hallway. The whole experience is clunky and annoying. They're not going to blame the photographer or the software. They will associate that feeling of frustration directly with your house. They will close the tab and move on to the next listing, the one with the beautiful, smooth, professional tour that makes them feel welcome and excited. You didn't just fail to impress them. You actively annoyed them and drove them away. The solution is to change your mindset. Don't just ask an agent if they provide a 3D tour. Ask them what platform they use. Ask to see the tours from their last 5 listings. Look at them with a critical eye. Is the quality sharp? Is the lighting good? Is it easy and intuitive to navigate? Is this the quality of marketing you want representing your single largest financial asset? A premium Matterport tour from a skilled professional might cost a few $100s more than the budget option, but that investment can translate into tens of thousands of dollars in a higher selling price and a faster sale. Because in the modern market, your virtual front door is now more important than your physical one. So let's walk through that virtual front door together. What happens on the other side? What's the actual tangible difference between a buyer looking at 25 beautifully staged photographs and a buyer taking a self-guided 3D tour? The difference is everything. It's the gap between observation and experience. Photos tell you what a room looks like. A 3D tour lets you feel what the house feels like. This isn't just a semantic difference. It's a profound psychological shift that happens in the buyer's mind. When you look at a photo of a kitchen, you see countertops, cabinets, and appliances. Your brain processes it as a flat image and advertisement. But when you virtually stand in that same kitchen, turn around 360 degrees, look up at the ceiling height, and then walk into the adjoining living room, your brain starts working differently. It starts processing spatial information. It builds a mental map. You begin to understand the home's flow, its energy, the way light pours in through the windows at a certain angle. You're no longer just a spectator. You're a participant. Let me tell you about a couple, let's call them David and Sarah. They were living in Chicago, but David's job was relocating him to Austin, Texas. They had 2 young kids, a tight timeline, and a red-hot hyper-competitive Austin housing market to contend with. Flying back and forth for every promising new listing wasn't just expensive. It was impossible. They were stressed, scrolling through Zillow every night, feeling disconnected from the process. Every house started to blur into a collage of wide-angle photos of beige living rooms and granite countertops. The pictures were pretty, but they didn't answer the real questions. Is the laundry room conveniently located? Or is it a trek through the garage? Does the master bedroom feel like a retreat? Or is it right on top of the noisy living area? How far is the kids' bathroom from their bedrooms? These are the questions of daily life, the details that turn a house into a home, and they are questions that static photos simply cannot answer. Then their realtor sent them a link. It looked like any other listing at first, but it had a little icon that said 3D tour. They clicked it. The screen loaded and suddenly, they weren't in their Chicago apartment anymore. They were standing in the foyer of a beautiful 2-story home in a suburb of Austin. David, using his mouse, walked forward into the living room. Sarah, watching on her own laptop, went the other direction, into a room that turned out to be a perfect home office. For the next 45 minutes, they were silent, each exploring the house on their own. David went straight to the garage, using the tour's measurement tool to see if his workbench and tool chest would fit along the back wall. They would. Sarah navigated upstairs, walking through each bedroom. She stood in the corner of the smallest room, picturing her daughter's crib against the wall. She checked the closet space. She even walked out onto the small balcony off the master bedroom and looked down into the backyard. They met back in the virtual kitchen. David said, "Did you see the pantry? It's huge." Sarah replied, "I know, and the island is big enough for the kids to do their homework while we cook." They weren't talking about a listing anymore. They were talking about their life in this house. They had mentally moved in. The psychological phenomenon at play here is called the endowment effect. It's a principle where people place a higher value on things they feel they already own. By allowing David and Sarah to virtually inhabit and control their movement through the space, the 3D tour triggered a premature sense of ownership. That house in Austin was no longer one of 50 tabs open in their browser. It had become the frontrunner, the one to beat, before they had even spoken to the selling agent. They called their realtor immediately. "We love the house on Maple Street," they said. "We've walked through it a dozen times already. We know the layout better than our own apartment. We want to make an offer." Think about the power of that. The seller of that home, by investing a few $100s in a 3D tour, had leapfrogged every other competing property. They had created an emotional connection with a highly qualified, out-of-state buyer who might have otherwise scrolled right past their listing. The tour didn't just showcase the property. It eliminated uncertainty. It answered dozens of unspoken questions, building a foundation of trust and transparency. For David and Sarah, the tour transformed a stressful, abstract process into a tangible, exciting reality. They ended up putting in a strong, confident offer sight unseen, contingent only on a physical inspection. Why? Because they weren't gambling. They felt like they had already been there. This story isn't an anomaly. It's the new reality of real estate. Data from major real estate portals consistently shows that listings with 3D tours receive significantly more user engagement, more clicks, more saves, and longer time spent on the page. According to Zillow, listings with a 3D tour were saved by buyers 50% more than listings without one. Think about that. A saved listing is a mental bookmark. It's a buyer saying, "This one is special. I need to come back to this one." What's more, these tours act as a 24/7, always-on open house, but one that's far more effective. It's an open house that's available at 11 p.m. on a Tuesday when a couple can't sleep. It's available to a military family stationed overseas trying to plan their next move. It's available to the local buyer who is too busy to drive to 5 different open houses on a Sunday afternoon. It widens the pool of potential buyers from a local, geographically restricted group to a national or even global audience. And here's a crucial point for sellers who might be hesitant. Some worry, what if the tour shows the flaws of my home? What if people see that scuff mark on the baseboard or notice that the guest bathroom is a little small? That's actually one of its greatest strengths. A 3D tour is a qualification tool. It filters out the tire kickers and looky-loos, the people who see the small guest bathroom or the quirky layout in the tour and decide it's not for them. They were never going to buy your house anyway. You've just saved them, and more importantly the time and hassle of a pointless in-person showing. The people who book a physical tour after taking the virtual one are pre-sold. They already know the layout, they've accepted the home's unique characteristics, and they are coming to confirm what they already love about it. This leads to fewer, but far more serious and productive in-person showings. It means less disruption to your life as a seller, fewer cleanups, fewer times you have to pack up the kids and the dog to vacate your own home. It streamlines the entire process, focusing your time and energy only on the most committed potential buyers. The tour doesn't just sell the house to buyers. It sells a more efficient, less stressful experience to the seller. It's about building confidence on both sides of the transaction, creating a transparent bridge between a seller's property and a buyer's imagination. And this bridge is fundamentally rewiring the psychology of buying a house. For a century, the process was linear. You see a listing, you schedule a showing, you visit, you feel something or you don't. It was a process of elimination based on brief, 30-minute encounters. But 3D tours shatter that model. They introduce a crucial new step: digital immersion. Before a buyer ever smells the fresh paint or feels the plushness of the carpet, they've already walked the halls. They've already stood in the kitchen and pictured where their coffee maker would go. They've mentally arranged their furniture in the living room, measured the master bedroom with their eyes, and debated whether their king-size bed will fit. This isn't just looking at pictures. It's a form of prehabitation. It's an emotional rehearsal. Neuroscientists talk about the endowment effect, the idea that we place a higher value on things we own. 3D tours create a digital version of this. By spending significant, uninterrupted time exploring a property on their own terms, from the comfort of their own couch, buyers begin to develop a sense of psychological ownership. The house is no longer just a listing with an address. It's a space they've already inhabited in their minds. So when they finally do visit in person, they're not there to be convinced. They're there for confirmation. They're there to validate a decision they've already started to make. This completely flips the script on the traditional showing. The agent isn't selling a house from scratch. They're facilitating the final step of a journey the buyer began days or even weeks earlier. This profound shift isn't just a luxury feature for high-end mansions in Los Angeles or New York City penthouses anymore. In fact, one of the most powerful impacts of this technology is its role as the great equalizer in the American real estate market. Think about it. For decades, the big brokerage firms with massive marketing budgets had a distinct advantage. They could afford the glossy magazine spreads, the primetime television spots, the extensive professional photography. But 3D scanning technology has been democratized. A small independent agent in Omaha, Nebraska, can now create a virtual tour that is just as immersive and professional as one from a billion-dollar firm in Miami. Suddenly, geography becomes less of a barrier. That agent in Omaha can now effectively market their listing to a tech worker relocating from Silicon Valley, a retiree moving from Florida, or even an investor from overseas. The buyer doesn't have to risk thousands of dollars on a plane ticket to see a home that might not be right. They can qualify or disqualify a property with an incredibly high degree of confidence from 2,000 miles away. This levels the playing field, allowing the quality of the home and the skill of the agent to shine through, regardless of their location or the size of their marketing department. It means a beautiful home in a less trafficked area can now get the national, or even global, exposure it deserves, attracting a much wider pool of potential buyers and ultimately, driving a better price for the seller. It's a quiet revolution, empowering smaller players and giving every home a chance to be seen on a global stage. But the visuals, as stunning as they are only half the story. The other half, the part that top-performing agents are leveraging as their secret weapon, is the data. A 3D virtual tour is not a passive video. It's an interactive data-gathering machine. Every click, every pan, Every second a user spends lingering in a particular room is a trackable piece of information. This is an absolute goldmine. Imagine you're a seller's agent. After a week of your listing being live, you can log into your dashboard and see an analytics report. This report doesn't just tell you how many people viewed the tour. It tells you how they viewed it. You can see a virtual heat map of the property, showing that 80% of viewers spent the most time in the newly renovated kitchen and the master bathroom. You can see that they zoomed in on the brand of the stainless steel appliances and the custom tile work in the shower. You also notice that almost no one spent more than a few seconds in the third bedroom. What does this tell you? It tells you that your marketing should scream about the chef's kitchen and the spa-like master bath. It also tells you that maybe the third bedroom, which you thought was a key feature, isn't resonating. Perhaps it's staged poorly, or the photos of it in the main listing are unflattering. This data allows agents to pivot and refine their strategy in real time. They can A/B test different virtual staging options, update listing descriptions to highlight what viewers are most interested in, and provide concrete, data-backed feedback to their sellers. It's the difference between marketing with a shotgun and marketing with a laser-guided missile. It transforms guesswork into a science, ensuring that every dollar and every minute spent on marketing is aimed directly at what buyers truly care about. And this ecosystem is only getting more intelligent. 3D tours are becoming the central hub for a whole suite of emerging technologies. We're already seeing the rise of AI-powered virtual staging. Instead of paying thousands to physically stage a home, an agent can upload a 3D scan of an empty house, and with a few clicks, an AI can furnish it in multiple styles. Want to see this living room in a mid-century modern style? Click. How about a rustic farmhouse look? Click. This allows buyers to see a home's potential in a way that's tailored to their specific tastes, breaking down the mental barrier of seeing past empty rooms or a seller's dated furniture. The next frontier is full integration with virtual and augmented reality. The same 3D model that you can click through on your laptop can be loaded into a VR headset. This means a buyer in another state can put on a pair of goggles and experience true-to-scale presence inside the home. They can walk from the living room to the kitchen, turn their head to look out the windows, and get a genuine sense of the space and flow that a 2D screen can never fully replicate. Augmented reality will allow buyers to hold up their phone during an in-person visit and see how their own furniture would look in the space, or even knock down a virtual wall to see an open-concept layout. This isn't science fiction. It's the direction the industry is rapidly moving. The 3D tour is the foundational block, the digital twin of the property upon which all these future experiences will be built. Of course, with any disruptive technology, there's skepticism. Some agents, particularly those who have been in the business for decades, might see it as an unnecessary expense or a complicated gimmick. They might say, "I've sold houses for 30 years with just photos and a sign in the yard." And they're not wrong, that method worked. But the market, and more importantly, the buyer, has changed. Today's buyers, raised on the internet, expect instant, on-demand, information-rich experiences. Failing to provide a 3D tour is starting to be seen not as a cost-saving measure, but as a red flag. It makes a buyer wonder, what are they hiding? Why can't I see the full layout? The cost of the scan, which has decreased dramatically over the years, is no longer an expense. It's an investment in trust, transparency, and competitive advantage. The question is rapidly shifting from, why should I get a 3D tour? To, can I afford not to have one? The risk of a property sitting on the market for an extra 30 days, accumulating carrying costs and losing momentum, far outweighs the modest upfront cost of creating its digital twin. It's about meeting the market where it is, and where it's undeniably heading. This technology is doing more than just selling homes faster. It's creating a more informed buyer, a more efficient agent, and a more transparent marketplace. It's compressing the timeline of a transaction by front-loading the discovery process. But this raises a much bigger question. As these digital twins become more and more photorealistic, more data-rich, and more immersive, we have to ask, what does this mean for the future of real estate itself? What happens when the virtual representation of a property becomes just as important, if not more important, than the physical structure itself during the initial stages of a sale? This isn't just a technological upgrade. It's a fundamental paradigm shift in how we perceive and value property. For centuries, a home's value was tied exclusively to its physical form: the land, the lumber, the location. But we are now entering an era where a home's digital counterpart, its digital twin, carries its own intrinsic and increasingly significant value. Think about it. A digital twin isn't just a 3D tour. A 3D tour is a snapshot in time. A digital twin is a living, breathing, data-rich replica of the physical structure. Imagine a virtual model of your house that contains not just the dimensions of every room, but the make and model of the furnace, the warranty information for the dishwasher, the exact paint color code for the living room walls, and the maintenance history of the roof. It is a comprehensive, interactive blueprint of the home's entire existence. This digital asset fundamentally changes the nature of homeownership itself. When you buy a house with a fully developed digital twin, you're not just getting keys. You're getting the complete instruction manual. Planning a renovation? You can use augmented reality to place new furniture, knock down virtual walls, or test different countertop materials within the digital model, seeing exactly how it will look and fit before you spend a single dollar. Wondering about energy efficiency? The digital twin could simulate the impact of installing new windows or adding insulation, giving you a precise estimate of your future savings. It transforms a house from a static object into an interactive, manageable system. This concept completely re-engineers the real estate transaction of the future. The virtual-first approach will become the undisputed standard. Physical showings will be the final step, a confirmation rather than a discovery, reserved only for buyers who are already 99% sure this is the home for them. This alone will save countless hours for buyers, sellers, and agents, making the entire market more fluid and efficient. But it goes so much deeper. Artificial intelligence will be layered on top of these digital twins. Imagine you're a buyer. You tell your AI real estate assistant your preferences. You need a home office that gets morning sun, a kitchen with gas appliances, you prefer hardwood floors, and you absolutely cannot have a bedroom facing a busy street. The AI wouldn't just search listings based on keywords. It would scan the intricate data of thousands of digital twins, analyzing floor plans, window orientations, appliance data, and even acoustic models to find not just a good match, but the perfect match in seconds. It could flag potential issues before you ever see the property, noting things like, the HVAC unit is nearing the end of its typical lifespan, or highlight hidden benefits like, this home's PX plumbing is highly resistant to freezing, which is a major advantage in your climate. The transaction itself could be revolutionized. The digital twin, as a verified and unique asset, could be linked to the property's title on a blockchain. This creates an unchangeable, transparent record of ownership and history. When a sale is agreed upon, a smart contract could execute the transaction almost instantaneously. The moment the buyer's funds are verified in an escrow account, the smart contract automatically transfers the deed, the keys, and the ownership of the digital twin to the new owner. The days of spending weeks or even months bogged down in paperwork, title searches, and manual verifications could simply cease to exist. Closing a deal on a house could become as fast and secure as a stock trade. Now, this vision of the future inevitably raises a critical question. What happens to the human element? Does the real estate agent become obsolete in this hyper-efficient, AI-driven world? The answer is no, but their role will undergo a profound evolution. The agent of the future is no longer a gatekeeper of information or a simple tour guide. Access to information will be universal and instantaneous. Instead, the agent's value will shift from access to wisdom. They will become high-level consultants, data interpreters, and master negotiators. Their job will be to help clients navigate this sea of data, to understand the nuances that an AI might miss, and to manage the deeply personal, emotional journey of buying or selling a home. They will be the strategist who helps you position your home's digital twin to attract the perfect buyer, the expert who advises you on the long-term implications of a property's data, and the skilled negotiator who closes the final, critical gap in the deal. Their expertise will be more valuable than ever, but it will be focused on human insight, not logistical legwork. Of course, this future is not without its challenges. We have to consider the digital divide. What about rural areas with limited high-speed internet, or older generations who may be less comfortable navigating a purely virtual space? Ensuring equitable access to these powerful tools will be a significant hurdle. And then there's the monumental issue of data privacy and security. A home's digital twin is an incredibly intimate data set. It knows the layout of your home, the value of your possessions, maybe even the weak points in your security system. Protecting this data from hackers or misuse will be paramount. Who owns the data? The homeowner? The company that created the scan? The platform that hosts it? These are complex ethical and legal questions we will need to answer. And perhaps the most philosophical question of all is whether any digital representation can ever truly replace the feeling of a home. Can a virtual tour capture the scent of jasmine from the garden drifting through an open window? Can it replicate the feeling of warm sunlight on a wooden floor in the late afternoon? Can it convey the intangible sense of peace or excitement you feel the moment you step over the threshold? Probably not. And that's okay. The goal of this technology isn't to replace reality, but to enhance and streamline our path to it. The digital twin, the 3D tour, the virtual staging, these are all powerful tools of curation. They filter out the noise, eliminate the mismatches, and save us our most precious resource, time. They do the logical work so that we can focus on the emotional work. They get us to the front door of the one perfect house, so that all that's left to do is step inside and see if it truly feels like home. What we've witnessed is more than just a trend. It's the beginning of a new language in real estate, a language of data, immersion, and efficiency. The simple act of capturing a space in 3 dimensions has unlocked a future where our homes will have a digital soul, a living blueprint that we can interact with, learn from, and pass on. It's making the process of buying and selling not just faster, but smarter, more transparent, and ultimately more human. The journey to find our place in the world is a fundamental part of our story. And it all started with a new way to see, a new way to explore, and a new way to walk through a house without ever taking a single step.